For some boom, baby, boom, rise and shine. It's empty village time. All to ourselves. So empty, so quiet. I love it. I love it. Sure, there's no tourism, but there's a global strategy. And this morning, marijuana motivation, Mark Saint's addiction. That's what I'm going into, man. A global strategy because it's a round world, and as I look around the world, it's not so easy, right? And what I kept saying is, put the best me up, 2 new months in Thailand. You know what I'm saying? And that in itself feels like the best place on earth to be happy, healthy, and free. This was a strategy, if you know what I mean. So, a lot of us, right? We have no out, bro. We got nowhere to go, and no one knows. No one knows where to go. No one knows how to be away from mental slavery or situations that are beyond them, right? Like things you can't control. Who's getting voted for? The gas prices at the pump, what the weather's like. But your boy Saint started to think. That's right. Last time it was a world crisis and all the banks were embezzling. Reconnecting live. Okay. Part of it was to have the endless summer. It was a great movie that I watched when I was a kid, and these surfers would go from Australia to Hawaii, and they're just like, oh, blessed. And they were just hopping through the fucking the places. Oh, this one's already hot. I can put it like that. You know what I mean? Cop the cop. Hopping through places in the planet that benefited them, right? Places that were ready and willing for a surfs up situation. Well, surfs up and I'm up and, life is up and waking up and taking my time to wake up and, smoking my joint and enjoying the quiet city where everybody else is trying to be next to each other, battling for resources, battling COVIDs or battling against other mammals. I wanted to go places that didn't have so many mammals, maybe some more animals. Some monkeys, some hornbilled toucans. I just saw a video of someone sawing two hornbills and it was literally eating a bat. That was amazing. And being next to the trees instead of the concrete and listening to waves while I get massaged instead of honking horns and being next to nature and enjoying life versus grinding it out and wondering where my next paycheck will be, waiting for somebody to evict me. It's all happened. I've been on both sides of I see you on the other side. The other side of high rent, when people are gouging you, when you're almost spending 50% of what you're earning and you're still not in a good environment. What is that all about? What does that even mean? To have a global strategy means I can be on any part of the planet that I want to be, just in case something wants to pop off. I was in Finland. It was close to Russia. After the Ukraine war, people were feeling skittish. Not so many people can travel because they don't have health insurance. I've been traveling 15, almost 17 years with no health insurance. Any of my friends like, we don't have any. And I'm like, what are they going to do? Undo what's already been done? Hell, even my own brother sells insurance and he won't even cover my mom. So it's one of those things where we can keep paying, but there's no guarantees. That's life. There's no guarantees that, you're going to live to the next day. And are you going to actually live? Are you going to live in an environment that grows you or makes you feel like you're trapped? And I'm just so grateful that I can just wake up with the sun on my back and weed in my lungs. I can open the door and go eat what I want. And that's basically what I've been doing. just processing what's my next move, where on the planet I want to be, and where do I feel safe, and where is it healthy, and all these things have to combine. I keep saying it's the five things. It's the vibe, safe vibe, look, um, eats, and there's a fifth one. When I get stoned, I lose the fifth one. But these things that make us, and cheap, I guess I could say, the cost, you know, um, to be able to live a full month off of what rent would cost is amazing to me. How more people don't exercise their passport and see how far the Middle East is from Southeast Asia or South America, or anywhere else you want to go. It doesn't mean I was going to Qatar anytime soon, Oman or any of these, Saudi Arabia. I'm not really interested in going. It stays pretty far away from me, and sure, I might feel it on the pumps, or my weed cost, went up. Transportation's gone up, But when you sit and you realize that the waves have come for hundreds of millions of years of evolution, and that it's survival of the fittest is now those that can adapt survive. And if I'm far away from nuclear war, or when it was 2012 and the whole world, the Mayan calendar was going to end and all these things, I was like, I'm going to be here in paradise with my toes in the sand, warm water, beautiful beach, beautiful horizons, and I dream of being global, where I don't be near any hot spots, where the weather is the best. You know what I'm saying? And treating myself with the best. The best food, the fresh fruits, the fresh juices, the exercise, the stretching. It's all a blessing, man. And I just find it. I find the blessings. I find the things that make me want to shine. I know everybody else wants to play global time, but I remember this in 2008, 2009, when all the fucking Lehman Brothers and everybody I was selling cars, and it was almost like 1,000 cars a month, just went to 300, 400 cars a month. And I said, why am I here? The question of anyone, or why are you where you stay? Odds are you can't move out. If you're in a second, third, fourth, or fifth world country, you don't have the mobility or the means to elevate yourself out of poverty. And as I eat, $30 meals for two, $15 meals each, I rationalize that that's what I would have spent at McDonald's for a number one. Just a typical Big Mac with a fries and a Coke. I'm going damn near 12, $15. And here we are building websites for cheaper and faster than that. So it goes to show, where do you source your energy from? Are you online, or do you have to punch the clock? And if you're punching the clock, do you like the surroundings when you leave that building? And if you are a person that wants to be free, maybe you want to look at minimalizing and start to look around. The things you own end up owning you, so you got to look around and see what's going to stay and what's going to go. And that's what it did to me. With the global strategy, was I was storing too many things. I still got a whole spare room in my mom's apartment, full of just shit, a leaning mattress and bed frame, some pillows and some linens, a bunch of free stuff from all the Champs conventions, a bunch of swag for the weed swag bags, some clothes, just about a pinch of clothes ready to go, and the rest of it's office shit, just boxes and milk crates of just. Yep, that hustle, and it takes hustle. It takes a coordinated effort. I know some friends that are making communities because you don't want to live alone. More into the farms. Maybe you go to a farm or help somebody on the farm. I got my friends up in Montana. Stacy, she's growing weed, two-decker style, and she's out in Montana, far away from, the drama of Vegas. But if you're bored, you're always going to want a car to satisfy you, but the car sits outside while you're sleeping, and you're going to want a nice apartment, but the rent keeps going up and it keeps creeping, and The food strategy. Everybody wants to eat well, but who can eat at Irwin or Erwin or whatever the fuck's it called, or what's the other one called? Whole Foods. Instead of growing Whole Foods, I got friends that have towers, literally, broccoli, kale, bok choy, you name it, lettuce, peppers, all that's money back in your pocket, and then it's also good for your spirit, to grow your own vegetables and to um, you know live off the land instead of getting hosed every time you go to the grocery store. It should be to supply or supplement what you couldn't grow yourself. But what do I know? I'm just over here surviving, you know making my own clothing. Saints Addiction, baby. Rocking my own dream, making my little dreams working the machine. I'm literally getting phone calls, making money while I'm in a taxi headed to the island with weed rolling down the window, watching the sunrise. And I just think, it's a global strategy. I saw this 15 years ago. I'm not gonna lie. I had a big vision. I keep saying the beach ball vision. But I saw it happen. I thought, who would stop China from taking Cambodia like Tibet? And I'm like, no one still cares, even after not Angkor Wat, even after the killing fields and SR 2021 or SR 22, where they turned their own high school into a torture chamber. And I was like, it could happen again. We threw them back at least 30 years. We throw them back at least a whole world. So they're not third world anymore. They're now fourth world, if not fifth world. And when you live like that, right, no one's going to come and stop you to protect you. There's no money. There's no interest. It's just a bunch of empty hotels and casinos and a bunch of dirtiness and poverty and same in the Philippines, the poverty and the embezzlement and all the corruption. It bleeds onto the country. It bleeds into the country that where they could have been peaceful or could have been happy. Now all of a sudden, guess what? They've been taken over by the bigger brothers, the bigger powers, and that's what I think of it. I thought China and Russia would be one, in Southeast Asia, and then Europe and Africa, because Europe had colonized Africa, so that would be the other side of the beach ball. You know what I mean? And then America, when we take over, Canada, Mexico, and then South America would be the other stripe of the beach ball. And that would be two versus the third, so 2-1. And everybody would split it up. They would split it up over resources, access to fish, access to fresh water, access to prosperity. And that's what I saw 15, 16, 17 years ago. This was an idea. I even wrote it down. I was like, nothing's going to stop the world from growing. And these auxiliary spots, they're up on the chopping block, bro. If you can't defend yourself, if you can't beat them, you're going to join them. And if you're near a hot spot, you're gonna have to endure it. And I just didn't want to endure the housing crash in America. I started traveling. I didn't want to endure COVID. I started traveling, and even now, while it's all war torn and things are popping off, I'm staying far the fuck away from anything that could be hit, anything that could be hot, and anything that could be lit. I'm over it. I'm over here chilling, chilling on a motherfucking island. I fucking playing frisbee when I got the energy, getting massages and eating what I want to eat. So that's what it is. It's a blessing. That's what I'm talking about. Living life on the other side, having a global strategy, having a business that doesn't require or depend on one currency or one country or one side of the globe, man. It's a round ball, and you got to participate in it. So when one's strong and one's weak, you're in both, your hat's in both rings. It's a strategy to avoid the summers of Vegas, but be on the island during the winter. and to have a global business so that way if I show up, I can make income no matter what, and grow in my business so that way I can start making the dream come true for other things that I want to grow, like motivated juice or diversifying my portfolio, not just clothes, not just printing, but apps, getting my app on, making seats, giving the app, sites. Sites are awesome. Any sites that I want that I already own, launching them. Maybe Positivity Pebbles, something organic, something easy. Something on Etsy, something I can do overseas. All I have to do is grab an iron and I'm back in business. And I'm growing my business and I'm doing it in the safety of an island, and I just sitting here like there's got to be more strategy if you're glued to the gas prices. I distinctly remember last time everybody was dumping their cars. They were the 6 cylinders, the 8 cylinders, and getting 4 cylinder vehicles, a smaller vehicle, something more affordable, and I was watching the debt trap, when you're owning a home and you're waiting for it to double up or participate in the appraisals and the appreciation of an asset, and then borrowing against that asset so that way all you have to do is still stay there with the homeowner's insurance and the housing insurance, your car insurance. It just keeps fucking adding up, So I look at it and I see it as a strategy, a global strategy to not live in the same spot, but be versatile enough to leave anything that's hot enough. And I know people that were like, "Oh, you're near Cambodia, nothing's popping off." I hadn't heard one bomb, not felt one threat, and the beach doesn't forget it, or it doesn't remember. Actually, it doesn't remember the dinosaurs, and it's not going to remember your fear. It just keeps fucking going and going, and we're lucky to have a planet that has water and an atmosphere. So I take that into high consideration to make my vibe as high as it can be and keep this vibe going, this blessing to transverse the globe and go to places that are growing, and to think that I would have ended up stopping, and I think I would have stopped in Qatar if I came up earlier. I think there was a stop in Abu Dhabi, right? And I just wanted to see the temples, but I don't want to see the temples that bad. There's plenty of temples to see, and plenty of museums I haven't seen, and plenty of food I still want to taste, and plenty of dreams I still want to grow. And that's my strategy, is to be online. And oh my God, wet baby, wet baby, key. Oh my God, it's key. It's qua, nah. I don't have it. You're talking about the lighter? No. Oh, you have it. Key. We're gonna have key. Do a highlight cameo. Thinking globally, thinking centeredly. From my center, my family, they thought I was in the war. My Thai mom, she said, "Oh my God, I thought you were in the war." Even I'm a whole stripe away, and I gotta determine my day, who I spend time with, who's cool, who's not, doing the things that make me healthy, like my morning shakes and my fruits and stretching and fixing on the life. There are not many people here now. Not a lot of fucking boom, boom, boom on a Friday night. Not a lot of music, but I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling good about not having to bump into a bunch of people or, negotiate with terrorists, or be around negativity. Matter of fact, I might go more remote and go cook. Hey, come here. She's naked. Thanks. Yes, plus. Mmm. Peanut butter shakes. So good, so refreshing. Yummy. I'm just saying, I made the strategy because I knew when I was selling cars that I couldn't stay in one sector. That if I stayed too long, that I would have been at the whim. It's like a bad girlfriend, you know. You know she's gonna pull shit. Well, the car industry is always gonna pull shit. Or maybe it goes electric, or maybe people don't want to buy Toyotas anymore because of a recall. Or I wasn't secure in my corporate job, and neither are you. You know, everybody's trying to get more security to guarantee their paycheck and the highest salary that they can get. And just like that, Lehman Brothers, it's over, bro. Let me show. It's over. Let me see the bag. And then there's a whole bunch of grams of blessings right here in game. Oh, what a blessing. What a blessing just to have 5 different strains, plenty of weed and no stress, and plenty of food. And, you know, if I wanted to be on a different island, I can be, and more unplugged and more on an electric bike to get around, and cheaper to live, and cheap food, and just eat Thai food and lose weight, and no fast foods, you know. Fuck, I could go get a massage for what it would cost for 2 Big Macs, you know. You know, a Big Mac cost a massage. How about that? Think about that. Eat a Big Mac, get fat, or go get a massage. I got both. You know, eat them both, bro. I don't know, you kind of miss out on all the lights and the glitz and the glamour, but you realize that it's just churn and burn. There'll be another UFC fight, there'll be another boxing fight, there'll be another singer, there'll be another performance, and then you're in the same building holding up the same bar, like I figured out, you know, in Vegas, that I wasn't missing out on anything. You know, I wasn't missing out on anything. It was gonna be the same, no different, you know. I was trying to do it for you, babe. Yeah. And if you want different, you gotta go to different places to try different food and get different outcomes, because we all know, you know, if we stay still and we don't have any backup plans, then there's nothing in reserve. What's your plan B? You know? What's your exit strategy? As we about to smoke this end game, what's your end game? You know? Same for chess. You know, you got to have an end game. And this is a global strategy to be able to sleep in safe places around the world, beautiful places with my beautiful girl, and make love day and night, and eat right, and live this life, versus, oh, I hate the pump, and then I go to my friend's house and he's complaining about the war, then I go to the other friend's house that he's renting, and seeing that nobody was leaving, you know, nobody was able to get out. And you'll say something like, oh, I'm just going to save for this year, or, you know, I'm going to wait for my cat to die, or, you know, this mortgage is killing me. I think that's what it's called. The death note in French for mortgage is the morgue, you know. And who wants to give away 50% of their income so they can have a roof over their head? I'd rather have a sky overhead. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have beautiful blue skies and crashing waves and great weather, and then go to another place. It's literally 4 places. You know, I'm thinking about having a place in Brazil, and I'm thinking about having a place in Turkey, you know, one in each country, you know, one in Thailand too. So living in America, every season, be able to rotate like a crop, bro. And I'm learning from the flowers. I'm learning from the trees. I'm learning from these industries, and you crop out and you move on, and you go to the next place. That's one of the reasons. Um, One of the reasons the Mongols were so successful, so they just kept it pushing. Once it got wore out, they were just like, oh, on to the next place, next goats, next city, next adventure, and that's a global strategy. So when things are popping off, make sure you're not just at one well trying to get the water out. Make sure that you're digging for gold in other areas. Everybody's always talking about diversifying. Well, you're gonna have to diversify your portfolio, diversify your destinations, and diversify your outcomes. Have an exit strategy. I'm serious. Find it inside where you're gonna be able to hit the leave button and live somewhere else. When I first wanted to travel, I just said how to live and work abroad. And all these teach English, teach English, teach English advertisements kept popping up. And I'm like, there's so many people from Japan, South Korea. I wouldn't live in China. I wouldn't live in Taiwan. I wouldn't live in Cambodia, but Thailand, maybe Singapore, Malaysia, maybe Indonesia. I wouldn't live in the Philippines neither, but here we are, thinking about exit strategies, thinking about destinations unknown, food untasted, and places that need to be seen, you know what I mean? And that's part of the dream. Getting over to South America. Nobody's talking about there. They're talking about Venezuela, but I'll be in Brazil and what's near. My friends go to Costa Rica or Colombia. And if I'm not spending all my money on rent, then I can buy a plane ticket. As long as it's away from the Middle East, I'll get there and live just like I've been living, with my fresh fruits, my morning shakes, my morning sex, and my morning joint, bro. Like, that's just how I'm gonna live. And stress free, I will be safe and sound. Living near some of the best, freshest spots in the world. All the rainforests, the lungs of this planet. So we all need to breathe. We all need to eat. And we all need to sleep, right? So that's a healthy human being. And that's all this is just healthy human being situations. Oh, someone's almost fired this morning. New job. New job. Give me this. Thank you, love. So, yeah. Make love.war. Smoke over drink. Yep. And we're going to do some time over cash, man. Because you can spend the cash, but you can't get more time. And that's what I realized this morning. It's a global strategy, baby. And I've been doing this for 15 plus years. So just be where the action is. Or where the action is not. And that's going to have to be a decision as soon as you get minimalized and get away from all the trivialized shit that's going on. You can go be free. And that's this morning's motivation, you know what I mean? Peace and love. And as always, Chigaton, that means goodbye, but not forever in Phoenix. And I will see you on the other side. As soon as you like, share, and subscribe, but the other side of your fear, the other side of your excuses, and the other side of the world, because that's where I'll be. Peace.